All right, people, we got some good news and we got some bad news. The good news, the good news for people like me who absolutely despise the idea of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, well, it seems like our prayers have been answered. We're not going to get that fight. All right? We're not going to get that fight. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. Jake Paul will face Gervonta Tank Davis on November 15th. Isn't that the same day as Ben Eubank? At State Farm Arena in Atlanta in an exhibition live on Netflix, sources confirm to Mike Coppinger. Talks for Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Paul's last fight took place at 200 pounds cruiserweight, and he has fought as high as heavyweight against Mike Tyson. While Davis is a champion at 135 pounds. Wow. I did think the Joshua fight would be a bit of an issue with the whole Netflix DAZN thing, because you think Jake Paul would want to fight like that on Netflix. Obviously, this one's going to be on Netflix. And AJ is a stakeholder in DAZN, isn't he? He's got the lifelong deal with Matchroom, which, I think AJ made a mistake doing that, quite frankly, because he's so big. He's bigger than the promotional company. He can do his own thing, or he should be able to do his own thing. But part of that was he fights on DAZN moving forward, and I think he has a stake in DAZN. So that was always going to be an issue, because I would imagine if you'd fought Jake Paul on Netflix, you'd essentially be in breach of your contract and then liable for God only knows what. So that was always going to be an issue. I did wonder how they'd get around that. Would they do a dual broadcast, but then DAZN wouldn't have it on pay-per-view? And Eddie Hearn, because that wouldn't have Turkey associated with it, you would imagine. It'd be MVP and Matchroom. Well, then surely Eddie and DAZN probably want to do pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So it was always a kind of a head scratcher, and thank God it's not happening, because I want Joshua to make a good run of this is the end of his career, really. we're into maybe the last year of his career. You want Anthony Joshua to at least, at least try and make the most of whatever he has left. For me, a Jake Paul fight was just a cash grab. I can't be as critical, or I wouldn't be as critical of Anthony Joshua taking it as I'm going to be of Gervonta Tank Davis. People, Tank Davis is the WBA champion at 135 pounds, 160. He might not even weigh 160 pounds outside of camp. All right, and if he does, that's because he's, ballooned up. This is a guy who I believe last weekend should have been facing Lamont Roach in a rematch. He was very lucky to actually escape with a victory over Lamont Roach earlier in the year, when Steve Willis didn't call a knockdown, which was clearly a knockdown. Obviously, he wasn't concussed, flat to the canvas, but he got hit with a punch and he took a knee. He didn't call that a knockdown, which was bizarre. And now he's going in there. No fights lined up. I know, obviously, the issues outside the ring, I believe they've been dropped, right? It's one of many issues he's had outside the ring, Gervonta Tank Davis. He's older than Jake Paul. He's now in his 30s, and he's done literally nothing over the last 7-8 years since he's been champion, other than get in trouble outside the ring, drain people like Ryan Garcia, or bring people up like Leo Santa Cruz, who have no business fighting at 130, 135 pounds. Am I wrong? Never fought Vasily Lomachenko when they were both champions. Floyd and Team Davis were actively saying that they don't need to fight, they're not going to fight him. So that's a duck, straight duck. Not trying to unify with Vasily Lomachenko when you had the chance, when you were both at 130 pounds. Yeah, it was 130 pounds. Missed weight for a couple of fights at 130. The list is endless with Tank Davis of things that have gone on in the ring and outside the ring. And again, Ryan Garcia draining him at 136 pounds, and just for good measure slapping a rehydration clause on top of that. Obviously, you act like that win is a good win. It's like having one hand tied behind their back, And now he's going in there for an exhibition with Jake Paul. And this is the interesting thing. He says exhibition, right? So what does that even mean? Like, we obviously know an exhibition is not a real fight. It doesn't go on your record, you would think. But that was originally what they were selling the Mike Tyson fight as. It was going to be an exhibition. Mike Tyson, although none of us really count the Jake Paul as a loss, like officially he's got 7 losses. He really only has, like, in reality, you could look at that and say he only really has 6. I mean, the Jake Paul fight should never have gone on their records. I mean, they use 14-ounce gloves in a pro fight with 2-minute rounds. I know in the UK, I think some countries, I know in the really small hall shows, you hear people who say that they do professional fights, 4 2-minute rounds and stuff like that, like a sprint. But still, I just think this is crazy. This is crazy. This is just crazy. When people say they want Jake Paul to fight real boxers, I mean, he's fighting a guy who, you're talking nearly 70 pounds the difference in the weights they fight at. Like, Jake Paul is normally a cruiserweight, 200 pounds, and Tank Davis is campaigned as low as 130. So you're talking 70 pounds the difference. And obviously, what would Tank Davis walk around weight be? 150 pounds, thereabouts. So you're still talking probably a 50 to 60 pound weight difference. And Tank Davis is what, 5'3", 5'4"? He's tiny. Jake Paul's what, 6'1", 6'2", taller. It's I don't even know. I really don't know. I'm not really pissed at Jake Paul or anything like that. Really, I mean, like, I've said it about Jake Paul once and I'll say it again. He could find an easier way to make money, and he's not doing it. He's making a lot of money in boxing, and he is, it's not easy. Boxing's not an easy sport, and now he's fighting Gervonta Tank Davis, who is a massive puncher, pound for pound. It's just more so that here we have Tank Davis, and as many of you will know, he's been one of my favourite fighters for a while, Tank Davis, just to watch, right? Outside the ring, not so much, but in the ring, I love watching him. He's exciting. He's explosive. At least he was fast. I don't know how the speed's going to be nowadays. But he just had so much going for him in the ring. He was just so easy to watch. Like, you just watch Tank Davis, and it was just fun to watch. Because he was always in good fights for the most part. And even if a fight was going slow, but like the Rolly Romero fight, he just, there you go, flips the switch, and then boom, he's knocked out cold. Well, nearly out cold. That's why I loved watching him. But lately, it's just been a chore. It's been a chore with Tank Davis because he's fighting once a year, looking disinterested and not wanting to unify. Shakur is going to do his own thing. Keyshawn Davis is going to do his own. They're all going to do their own thing, and he's just kind of like a there holding the belt hostage, which the WBA should really be coming in and stripping him if he's not going to get any mandatories or any title defenses coming up, because he's not going to be defending his world title when he's going to fight a guy who weighed in 200 pounds in his last fight, I would assume. So, like, what is, like, I don't know. I really don't know. But that is the announcement in Atlanta, which is in the state of Georgia, I believe. Exhibition live on Netflix. I said November, I think, on Review of the Week is going to be a crazy month. It absolutely will be. We will be very busy in the month of November. I'm pretty sure that's the day Ben Eubank is on. Ben Eubank 2 is on. And the following weekend, with the Riyadh event, God, November is going to be manic. It's going to be a manic month. It really will be. But yeah, that is that's the situation. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Jake Paul, Tank Davis. I really thought Tank Davis was just going to bow out. And maybe this is his swan. Maybe this is his retirement gig. He's going to make an absolute fortune facing Jake Paul in an exhibition. And see, with an exhibition, right, it would leave people to believe that this is, and I'm not saying it is the case, right? I'm not saying necessarily this is the case at all, so don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But it will leave people to believe, like, oh, this fight is fake. Because an exhibition is not a real fight. Even though it kind of is, but it's not. It's like, it's going to be a bit of fun. They're going to use big gloves. It'll be like a game of tag in there. It's not really going to be, now they'll sell it like it will be, maybe, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. At least, I did not want to see Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua for a variety of reasons. And as I said, at least now AJ can get a move on, have a real fight. Bacoli is there. Bacoli in Africa. Tony Yoka in Africa, I'm not going to, no, I think Dylan White needs to retire, but he's apparently going to stay on. All right, let's see. But yeah, you know what I mean. At least now he can move on and he can do his own thing. Because as I said about AJ before, he's only got roughly a year left, you'd imagine. Like, if he's still active come 2027, I would be very surprised. I would be. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Jake Paul, Tank Davis. Yeah, let me know. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.